Thank you very much, Program Director, the Premier of the Northwest, Kobukune Bupirima Province. Members of the Provincial Executive Council, our Mayor of Mahikeng, our farmers, the Chief of the South African National Defence Force, the senior government officials who are here this morning, and generals from the South African National Defence Force, our professors who are in our midst from the Northwest University, friends, comrades, fellow South Africans. We meet here today to perform a function that redefines the role of our military and its inherent potential to support development through its peacetime activities. Since the integration of the various former statutory and non-statutory forces into a single South African National Defence Force, we've made various strides in shaping the mandate of the South African National Defence Force under a democratic dispensation. In terms of both the 1996 and the 2014 defence reviews, it is clear that both in its core and support, the mandate of the SANDF should be anchored on the promotion of South Africa's national interest, including supporting development objectives. Honourable Premier, today I'm glad that this work has reached this culmination. The launch marks the culmination of a process of engagement between your government and the Department of Defence to forge a partnership to advance the national strategic imperative of rural development. Through the signing of the MOU, the South African National Defence Force officially commits to work with the government and other stakeholders in this province to embark on a multifaceted program to develop rural areas where the lives of the majority of our people are blighted by grinding poverty and underdevelopment. The MOU also constitutes a broad partnership that transcends government and commits the Northwest University and the Northwest Cooperative NWK to a collaborative effort to develop rural areas to change the lives of our people for the better. From the onset, I need for both the SANDF and the provincial partners to appreciate the mammoth task we are taking on. Rural development is a vast subject that encompasses all aspects of rural living, impacting on the quality of life of our people. This may cover agriculture, livestock, infrastructure development, health, sanitation, energy, and education. This list is by no means exhaustive. The National Development Plan recognizes the enormity of the scope of work to be undertaken to develop rural areas where it says, and I quote, I'm not quoting you this time, sir. And I quote, rural economies will be activated through improved infrastructure and service delivery, a review of land tenure, a review of tenure of security for communal farmers, especially women, service to small and micro farmers, and a review of mining industry commitments to social investment and tourist investment, close quote. In the same vein, we should also bear in mind that the constituency we are dealing with has been historically disaffected and is justified to be impatient in their expectations for qualitative intervention in their lives. And therefore, a multidisciplinary approach is therefore required if we are to fundamentally develop rural areas and raise the standards of living to levels enjoyed in our urban and peri-urban centers. This is by no means a small task, and it compels us to work together in a coherent and structured manner. It is therefore important that this work is located within the planning cycle of government to ensure structured coordination, planning, and accountability on deliverables. There's a need that both our policy and planning instruments should be aligned to include our targets for the work envisaged in the MOU. For the SANDF, the Defence Review 2014 is now the government's official policy blueprint on defence. It clearly directs that the Defence Force be mandated to execute developmental and other tasks assigned to it by the National Executive Authority. One of these tasks is to contribute to the economic development of the country and to the well-being of its people. Colleagues, outcome number 7 of the medium-term strategic framework of the government envisages vibrant, equitable and sustainable rural communities that enjoy food security. The National Development Plan aims to eliminate poverty and reduce inequality by 2030. This is an ambitious target indeed. Skeptics have already dismissed it as unrealistic. Of course, as government, we are fully aware that the skeptics should be proved wrong. For our people cannot afford for this program to fail. In fact, given this skepticism, those of us who are in government should double our efforts that this work is done properly and measured for its success. Comrade Premier, I've approved a concept whereby the Defence Force will use the presence of its units throughout the country, its ownership of the land, and the assets and resources at its disposal to stimulate local economic activity. There is a conscious intent to focus on rural areas where the need is greatest. I really like that program you mentioned of the small dotties and it's called villages, townships and small dotties. I wish our other provinces can emulate what you are doing actually. And this program of Sitsukutsane, and what you just described earlier on, that you actually literally go into a small area, into a village and camp as both government and civil society. Indeed, in Xhosa we call it uvunguza, niyavunguza. And I hope it's something which we all must emulate, you know. And I would hope that in your forum where you discuss with the forum where you come together with other premiers and MECs, that these are some of the things which you share, so that other people can then introduce these in other areas. Because the only way in which you will know the needs of people in that particular area is if you move into that area and indeed literally vunguza in order to understand and appreciate the challenges. A decision brief has been signed by the Chief of the SANDF to initiate a pilot project here in the Northwest Province along the following guidelines. That its contribution to rural development must not be restricted to the agricultural sector, but be broadened to include industrial and service sectors as well as human resource development, with emphasis on youth, military veterans and women. Earlier on, we were having a chat with the mayor, and she mentioned to me that there's an area where you have an informal settlement where people are occupying other people's land. And she was saying the council is working on a plan to move those people to a different area. And obviously, as you move them from an informal settlement, you'd have to then build proper infrastructure. And it must be well integrated so that it can meet their needs. And he was saying he would hope that the SANDF will dispatch people to come and assist in building of the houses. So I said, Chief, we have a very small works formation. What we can rather do is to dispatch a few people to come in and train young people from that informal settlement in order for the young people to then build the houses. And one of the biggest challenges we have, and I want to say this in your presence, both Honorable Premier and the Mayor, is that we are stuck in the South African model of a house, where we want to build bricks first for X number of weeks or months. We bury them, we do all of these things, and then we start building. But actually in other countries, people make block slabs And out of those slabs, they then build houses. And it is quicker, it's a shorter process, but also it's very economic, with both time and financial resources and human resource capacity. What it means is that in a house which is built by 6 people, for instance, you can have 3 people building that house from the bottom up. So I think that that's one of the things in this Sitsukutsani, one of the things that you need to talk to people about is that the thing about bricks is a thing of the past. You can actually build slabs and have slabs to build, concrete slabs to build proper housing. They are stronger, cheaper, more economic. So I've then committed you, Chief and General Masondo, that I know you will not be able to come in and assist in the building of the houses, but I'm certain your builders and your engineers can come in and assist people in the first instance to identify a site, and for our engineers to determine whether there is water or not in that area, and for them to then train young people in how to build houses. My problem is that I never like going around and committing ourselves. So when I come knocking at your door, Mason, don't say I'm putting you under. That its developmental contribution should be linked to the infrastructure development of government. That a project director be appointed to lead a team with a clear mandate to enrich the concept as presented. That the South African Army be appointed as the lead service in the implementation of this project. And lastly, that the Army proceed with the implementation of a pilot project in the Northwest Bukone Bupirima province and the subsequent rollout of 2 other provinces. There are a number of practical ways in which the Defence Force, in partnership with the provincial and local authorities, can intervene meaningfully to develop rural areas and improve the lives of our people. The presence of military units in the midst of rural communities is potentially beneficial in many ways that include generation of job opportunities and enhancement of economic profiles of local communities, increased business activity as a result, local procurement of goods and services. In this regard, the Premier, we have a breakdown of monthly expenditure by our units in your province, which will stimulate local economies once a decentralized procurement policy is in place. Sourcing of local labor for developmental projects, the building and repair of infrastructure, bridges, roads, etc. Provision of training and skills development, provision of health services where required, recruitment and utilization of reserves from local communities, the use of underutilized SANDF land to support specific projects, and lastly, support for government's National Rural Youth Service Corps to develop skills and create employment. The President will be launching, I think on Friday, tomorrow, will be launching a project in the country. I think it's being launched somewhere in the Eastern Cape. It's a war literally against leakage of water taps. And we'll be launching this project together with some ministers to say to young people, yes, you may be unemployed. Yes, you live in this area. Yes, you have taps which are leaking. There's a bit of plumbing work which needs to be done, tightening of this or that, and we together can do this. So that's what we are going to be launching, and hopefully it will be a successful project. But of course, I was informed yesterday, somebody was talking to me and saying, some of these young people were going to be given, I think, a stipend of about 2.5 or 2,000, I'm not sure. And the young people are saying, no, we want a stipend of 7,000. But these are young people who are basically unemployed. This is a project for all of us, literally. And therefore, whatever, that's why it's called a stipend. It's not even a salary, it's a stipend for a person to be able to wake up and do something for yourself. And some of them are saying, no, no, no. But the point is, we need to instill in our young people a culture of work. You know, I always say to comrades, money is not everything. Money is not about everything. You can have a lot of money, but be a very unhappy person. What is gratifying, what is good, is to have a sense of fulfillment that there is something which I've done for the person next to me. And I think this is what we need to inculcate in our young people. Our young people have no appreciation of that whatsoever. In fact, our children have become extremely selfish. It's all about themselves. It's not about the person next to you. And I think that the culture of struggle taught us to share everything. It taught us to do things for one another. It taught us respect. It taught us discipline. And I think this is what we need to transfer to the young people, and not be judgmental. Because it's also important, because once you are judgmental, you're not going to win with them. We have to be very patient, and patiently we're running against time. We're running against time. Impatiently impart all of these skills on them. Of course, we are all mindful of the work that, of the fact that our work must fall within the framework of the national government's comprehensive rural development strategy. This means we must work in conjunction with relevant government departments and agencies such as the Department of Agriculture, Forestry and Fisheries, Department of Rural Development and Land Reform, National Treasury, provincial governments and provincial treasuries. Our work should complement that being undertaken by the Minister of Agriculture, Forestry and Fisheries and the Minister of Rural Development and Land Reform, as endorsed by the 2015 Cabinet Makhutla on the growth of the South African economy. The MOU that we signed today should not gather dust in our offices. It should be a living document that drives our work and commits us to deliver concrete results that create material conditions for the upliftment of our people in the rural areas. We will demand total accountability from officials on both sides who are entrusted with this extremely important project. The MOU calls for the creation of a provincial project steering committee to oversee the work of implementing agents appointed by the provincial government and the South African National Defence Force. This committee will monitor milestones and deliverables in accordance with the MOU. It will meet quarterly to facilitate and review the implementation of the MOU. It will oversee the management and achievements of its operational aspects and report and analyze progress of the cooperation between the two parties' implementation agents. Comrade Premier, my department is aware of the sterling work your government is already doing to develop rural areas around your province. The work that we shall do together should complement what is already being done and build on it. We welcome the Northwest University as an important partner who will assist in the monitoring and evaluation of the project. The training, of course, of farmers, drawing up of business plan, and in research and development. We also look forward to working with the Northwest cooperatives, who I understand will render technical assistance for farm management, effect technology transfer, and finance production inputs for emerging farmers. It is our intention to implement this pilot project in the financial year 2016-2017. The period preceding that will be utilized to develop a strategy that is fully aligned with the comprehensive rural development strategy of government. The Department of Defense looks forward to working with the Northwest Provincial Government on a project that should significantly contribute to the overarching policy objective of government, to give a better life to all South Africans. In closing, let me indicate that we cannot emphasize enough that all of us should guard against the possibility of undermining the enormity of the task before us. You'll hear that I said we're committing for the financial year 16-17 because we do appreciate that there's a lot of planning which has to be done from now onwards to the end of the financial year 2015. So come the 1st of April 2016-17, that should now constitute the implementation phase of the project. But for now, a lot of planning, including teaching, the establishment of that steering committee I have referred to. Our people have no patience left for another failure and lip service paid to delivery of services. In this regard, I call on all of you leadership, managers, officials, community members, to lend your shoulder to the wheel. If every generation has its given task, then this one is clearly ours. We dare not fail. And fortunately, Premier of Bukune Bupirima. I want to make sure that I have the right pronunciation. It's all on the wall, and it says, together moving forward, Bukole Bupirima. Together moving Bukole Bupirima forward. Thank you.